All right, moving on to number 2 in 11.1. What we're going to work on here is we're going to find the greatest common factor, and then we're going to pull this greatest common factor out front of the polynomial. So it's the reverse of the distributive property, and we're rewriting the problem as a multiplication problem. So first I'm going to look through these terms here. I see the y to the third, and then this 17x squared y squared, and I'm noticing that I have y's that are in common here. So the GCF here, okay, I'm just going to write it down quick. The GCF ends up being y squared. So that's the piece that I'm thinking I'm pulling out front. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down y squared, and then I'm going to leave a parenthesis here. And if I had two terms here, my parenthesis is going to have two terms here, and that plus sign is going to stay the same in this case. So think about this. If I have y to the third and I pull two of them out, that's going to leave me with a y to the first remaining. And then out of this term, I pulled out this entire y squared, so the remaining piece is 17x squared. And what we see here is that I've rewritten my original problem as a multiplication problem. So if I multiply that out, I'd be right back where I started. Okay, so it's just rewriting as a multiplication problem. All right, now looking at this next one, you might have spotted that 3 divides into this and 3 divides into this. So the part of the GCF is going to be 3. It can't be 5 because 5 doesn't divide into 33. Okay. Next I see an x and some x's, so I can only use x to the first power. And then when I look at the y's, y to the third and y, I can only use y to the first power. So there's my GCF. I'm going to write my GCF down out front, and I'm going to leave a space to complete this parenthesis here from factoring out the GCF. Okay. So let's see, I put a 5 here because 3 times 5 equals 15. I've pulled out this x, and I pulled out one y, a y to the first, so I'm going to have 2 y's left there. And then on this next one, I can think about, okay, I have my plus sign. 3 times what will equal 33? 11. That's one way to think about it. Some students think about 33 divided by 3 is 11. Same kind of thought. I pulled one of the x's out, so I have an x left in there. And then I pull y out of this term, so there's no y left there. Okay. And that's my rewritten polynomial, okay, or factored polynomial. Now on this one, C, we want to, some people would write this in descending order to get started, which is a good idea, not absolutely necessary. But if you see your first term is negative, you're going to want to pull a negative out front. Okay, so when I think about the GCF, no matter what, if my first term is negative, I'd like you to get in the habit of pulling a negative out. So you could write -1 if you like, just for a placeholder, but I just use the negative sign. Okay. So let's see, I see a common 10 and I see a common y. All right, so there's the GCF. So I'm pulling -10y out. If I have two terms here, I'm going to have two terms in my parenthesis. If I pull the entire -10y out, I still have to put a placeholder there. And the placeholder is going to be 1. And we can think about, we're dividing out that -10y. And if you divide -10y by -10y, you get 1. Okay. Next, I pulled out this negative sign, so it switches signs here to positive. And I pulled out the 10, and I pulled out one of these y's. Okay. So that's what it would look like if you didn't write it in descending order first. Okay. And then just to show you, if a student would have written it in descending order first, it would have been very similar. They would have wrote negative 10y squared minus 10y, and they would have still pulled out a negative 10y, and what would have been left would have been y plus 1. And you can see the similarities between these two answers here. Okay, so both of them would have worked out. You know, I suppose I was taught more to do it this way by writing in descending order, but both are acceptable. Okay. All right, we'll pause this video or stop this one, and then I'll show you the next three. Okay. Thanks.